Oh, that's a very nice sound.
The sound I love.
This is, my father taught me 45-degree angle and you won't have spillage. I would like to welcome you to At Nelson's, where I have a very special guest who brings her own liquor. And you've got to love that about a woman who brings her own liquor. Colleen Zenk, the fabulous divine star of daytime television, cabaret, Broadway and off-Broadway, and everything else you can imagine. She's brought her own signature drink, Colleen-i Bellinis.
The Colleen-i Bellinis.
The Colleen-i Bellinis. That's a little Italian influence.
Yes,
to your health, my darling. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's not bad. Let's see how this all goes.
That's pretty fabulous.
And good with some cookies.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's the first time you've come over to my apartment, but the time I met you first, although I've been a fan of your work for years, you were marrying two of my good friends.
Yes.
Colleen I want to make sure I say it right. Is it an ordained minister?
I'm an ordained minister with one of those fabulous online ministries where you can do such a thing. And Roger and Kevin of We Love Soaps asked me to officiate their wedding. And I said, really? Really? and then they poured their hearts out to me in this beautiful letter explaining all the reasons why they wanted me to do it. So I got ordained, and we went down to City Hall and did all the paperwork, and I signed the giant ledger of ministers. So I am legal in New York and city and state.
So has anyone else asked you to officiate for them?
No, but I saw some other friends the other night who had just gotten married, and I was rather put out that I had not been asked to do their wedding too. I'm kidding.
Do you know who Bryan Cranston
Yeah.
from Breaking Bad, Malcolm in the Middle? He's a friend, and he became an ordained minister for the very same reason, to marry some friends. But he does it, and he promised that if I ever did want to get married, he would do it for me. But,
That's pretty great.
Maybe I could have the two of you
that'd be fun.
co-officiate.
That'd be fun.
Be Breaking Bad and Breaking Good.
Well, I wasn't always good.
Well, you know, it's interesting because your character of Barbara Ryan, I always want to say instinctively Barbara Stenbeck, but of course she was Barbara Ryan. And in the end, what was her final surname? Barbara?
Coleman.
Coleman.
Well, it was Barbara Ryan, Stenbeck, Sinclair, Munson, Dixon, Munson, Stenbeck again, Coleman. That's the whole.
Maybe you shouldn't be an ordained minister. Maybe you should be a divorce lawyer. That would be wiser. But do you miss Barbara? I mean, I'm sure the fans do, but do you miss Barbara?
I miss her terribly. I miss everything about the job, especially the character, but I miss the people. I miss the continuity. I miss having a schedule. I don't miss the commute. But I miss everything about World Turns. We were a very special group. I know all shows say that. Some of them aren't telling the truth, but we really were, and we were very, very cohesive. And there wasn't really a bad apple in there.
And how many years were you on? And you disappeared for a while and then came back?
No,
you were there the whole time?
32 years.
32 years.
The only time I ever took off.
Maybe I disappeared for a few years.
No, the only time I ever took off was maternity leave.
Slacker.
Yeah, really. And I took off a couple of weeks to shoot a couple of different films at different points. And then when I got sick, and I had to take some time off for treatment and surgeries and all that.
And we'll talk about that. But you went. Barbara was. I mean, as I first recall, she was the ultimate heroine and the woman in jeopardy from her evil husband.
The damsel in distress.
Yes, and then she evolved into her own devil.
Well, then she went into Homewrecker.
Yeah.
And then she went into Walking Bitch. And then eventually, she went back to kind of being the homemaker, and that's when I said that I was so far on the back burner that I was off the stove, which was in the late 90s. And then she went through a huge resurgence when Hogan Sheffer came over to the show back in the early aughts. And for the last 10 years that we were on the air, I was front and center the entire time. And what I loved about the character so much, and I think what the audience loved, is that you loved to hate her, you loved her, you understood her, you understood that she never learned from her mistakes, that she was always going to screw up, and she could never find happiness, which is why at the end of the show, when Barbara finally found happiness with Henry, the 20 years younger fellow, the audience was so happy for Barbara,
Yeah.
that she was finally happy in the end.
Where would she be today? Where is Barbara Coleman?
I think.
Or
that-
is she not Coleman
Oh
anymore?
no! I think that Henry is it for her, and I think that maybe they've opened up a dance studio, or they have their own cabaret, or something fun.
And so many of the things that happen to you in life, and you've got, how many children do you have? A bunch. You're like,
I'm the mom of a blended family of 6.
it's amazing to me.
I have 3 of my own and 3 stepchildren.
So, were any of your natural pregnancies written into the show?
Only the last one.
Only the last one.
They hid the first 2, and I'm one of these women that gets really pregnant. And like Eileen Fulton used to say, even the tip of your nose was pregnant because I was just so enormous. So with my last baby, Georgia.
It's a passive-aggressive thing to
I
say.
know.
Even the tip of your nose.
Well, it was true. I mean, I gained like 60 pounds with my first pregnancy, and then 40 each with the 2
Jeez.
following. And that last go around, I went, please, can we just write it in? Because I can't hide and fake it anymore. And I was 40 when she was born, so.
And you're a cougar and a MILF and all those good, sexy things.
Thank you.
But they did write in when you had cancer.
Yes.
And it was an unusual cancer, I think,
Right.
but it's not one that people have on their radar. Oral
No,
cancer.
Oral cancer, cancer of the tongue.
Did your dentist diagnose this?
No, I found it. My dentist missed it. And I found it and went in for my annual physical, which was about 6 months after I'd last been to my dentist. And I showed it to my doctor, and he said, you're immediately going to an oral surgeon. And the oral surgeon took one look at it and went, oh, don't worry about that. My 40 years of practice, cancer's never looked like that before. And I went, what? And so it was missed first, and then misdiagnosed. And then finally, after 6 weeks of treatment, they finally biopsied it. And the results came back on my daughter Georgia's 14th birthday in March of '07.
And what is, obviously they excised it. You still speak and sing. What was the recovery process?
Oh, well, it was horrendous. I mean, they excised it, but in excising it, they literally removed the entire muscle skeleton in the right side of my tongue, leaving the taste buds and the top layer. And then they completely restructured a new tongue for me from the left side. It's a flap they use. So my tongue looks normal from the top, but underneath it looks like nothing. You can't even make out what it is.
Well, the good news is you can still stick out your tongue, and nobody
Yeah, a little
would
bit.
know that.
But after that, then I underwent 2 different surgeries implanting radioactive rods in the tongue, which are still there
Jeez.
because they don't remove them. And then after all of that, which took from March until June, I had originally contacted the Oral Cancer Foundation immediately on my diagnosis, and got a phone call back from the executive director, and he said, well, the first thing we have to do is get you healthy, and then you decide if you really want to work with us. So I called them in June, and I said, let's go. And then I went to my executive producer on World Turns, Chris Goutman, and said, I have an idea I want to sit down with you and talk to you about. I said, how would you feel about Barbara having the same diagnosis? And he said, I've already thought about it. Let's go talk to the writers. So the writers took about 5 months to do their research, figure out how they were going to tell the story, and it was then in January of '08 that Barbara was diagnosed with it. And then, like clockwork, because they always say this is what's going to happen, 18 months after my first diagnosis, it had metastasized. So it metastasized to the lymph nodes, and I underwent a neck dissection in late November, day after Thanksgiving, November of '08. And then I started radiation in January of '09, underwent 5 weeks of daily radiation. And the show worked around me, and I sounded like hell. And the fans thought I'd had a stroke or something. I didn't sound very good. So I came out of that cancer-free, but since then, since spring of '09, I've had, I think, 5 or 6 more surgeries, including one just this past January, which I haven't even talked about before. But everything is okay. I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
Well, I guess so much of it becomes a PR thing. We are so PR'd into skin cancer now that
Right.
we know we have to check, we know we have to sunscreen.
Right.
What would the message be? And thank God your taste buds are okay.
They are.
What's the message regarding oral cancer? What do people need to know?
A couple things. They need to be screened yearly by their dentist. The dentists are the ones that are doing the screenings. That's number one. Number two, I had no risk factors. Not a smoker, not a heavy drinker. It's the combination of those two that's why they used to call it the old man's cancer, because it was usually old men who smoked heavily, drank heavily, maybe chewed tobacco as well, that got this cancer. That's no longer the demographic. It used to be that only 10% of oral cancer patients were women. It's now 50-50. And the reason is the HPV virus, which causes vaginal cancer, cervical cancer, but it also causes oral cancer in men and women.
Yeah, they want all the young people to get that.
Not just girls,
yeah,
but boys as
yeah.
well, to get the Gardasil vaccine, which will prevent this type of cancer. When I had my original surgery, they told me that they felt that this was probably HPV. And there's really no way of telling, because at that time they did not have a diagnostic tool which was not foolproof. So even if something came back a false positive, it really might be a false positive or might be a false negative. Their diagnostic tools are much better.
So that's the message. Talk to your dentist
Talk to
and
your
have
dentist.
him checked. So tell me about the theater. You did. What was the name of the play? You did something. It was about the George Clooney cougar.
Marrying George
Marrying
Clooney.
George Clooney.
Marrying George Clooney, which was based on the memoir of the same name by Amy Ferris. It was really fun. It was a brand new piece. It was a world premiere. I did it a year ago, this past late winter, and it may have a life. It's been optioned and it's going through a rewrite. But I loved doing it. It was so much fun. It was probably the most outrageous I've ever been on stage. It was an outrageous play, really fun. I did that. I did another musical called Odyssey, the epic musical, playing Odysseus' mother. Another one of those mothers. And right after World Turns went off the air, I did a musical called Summerstock NYC here in town. I'm missing a show. What am I missing?
Well, what is it you did with our friend
shows.
Anita? And you've been working with Anita Gillette and
Well,
Denise Pence?
Yeah, well, I know Denise socially, and through the soaps, the P&G circles. But Anita and I did a play back in
Remember the good old days when we got the big
2002.
Tiffany boxes of products?
Oh my God, yes.
Those were the days.
I have a little star that's on my keychain. That's all I have left. But it's Tiffany. Anita and I did a play in 2002, and it was a world premiere. Tom Wigan was in it, and it was Anita and me, and I'm trying to remember the name. I'll think of it. It did have a life after that, and Roberta Maxwell ended up playing Anita's role, and Dana Reeve played my role when it opened here in town. But I have my one-woman show that I've been out there kicking my heels up doing called Still Sassy, and I was lucky enough to perform at Feinstein's before they closed.
Yeah.
I know. But Kelsey and I, my daughter Kelsey and I, just did a guest spot in a little off-Broadway show that on their closing night we did like a little mini musical within their musical, and it was called Mama and Her Sons, and we did Mama and Her Daughter, a little mini musical in the middle of it. And I think we're gonna go do a little something with Jim Caruso down at Birdland. So he's been kind of egging me on to get in there.
But Kelsey is the apple who hasn't fallen far from your tree.
Truly. And that's a song that we've never done from The Rink, by the way. That was Eliza and Cheetah Rivera song.
Okay.
And we played around with doing it, and we've decided it's not a very good Candor and Ebb song. But anyway, but it is true that in real life, you put us both together and people look at our mannerisms and just go, holy smokes, because, that's what happens with kids and their parents.
That DNA.
I know,
stuff.
but she's incredibly talented and a bit of a star over in Asia and Europe after doing Parade and Zorro, the leads in both, on tour over there for the Israeli arts festivals. And so we're going to put something together here in town.
Good. Well, when are you going to do that? Because
Well,
you have about 800 different shows going.
I do. I'm kind of fried. I just wrapped principal filming on a new film called Libby, and I play Libby, which I loved the script so much, and it'll be completed and heading out to the film festivals in the fall. I start back production on Thurston next month down in Virginia and Maryland, which is Thurston, the Western web series, where I play the town matriarch, Agnes Sneed.
Madam.
Yes.
Town Madam.
Town Madam, Agnes Sneed. And and in between, going back to Thurston, I'm shooting a new sitcom with Richard Klein from Three's Company.
Hilarious.
I love him. And we're both starring in a new sitcom called Don't Know Jack, which is very, very funny. And we start up with that in about a week and a half. That will be on Hulu starting in the fall. And then I literally can't remember the name of this other series I've committed to that Kelsey and I are doing together as well, and I can't remember. And that's in beginning of July. And then I have just committed to doing another series with a lot of soap people that I probably shouldn't talk about yet, but we can talk about it later.
And we can post-script something
and
up on this.
And then there's another one as well that I'm unbelievably excited about, but I really can't talk about yet.
Okay.
And then...
so you're not bored?
I'm not bored. And then there's... I've been talking to the people who won the big award at the Indie Soap Awards this past year, a British London company who do this hilarious show called The Bloody Mary Show. And so we're talking about maybe me going over to London and working with them in the fall. So that's my next few months. And I'm in a book deal for my memoir, so it's I'm kind of wacky.
Yeah, but we're of the same cloth. You just say yes to everything, and it'll get done. And who needs sleep anyway? You might miss something.
I know. I need an assistant so badly. If anyone out there would like to work for free, please contact me.
The free assistants are tough.
Yeah, I know.
It's tough to find the free assistants. But let us, as we finish our Colleen-i Bellinis,
oh yes,
play a rousing quick round of Dying to Know. When the fat lady sings, you know it's over.
So fat lady.
You're going to pull out, let's pull out 6. And you're going to give me your best, most spontaneous short answers to these 6 questions.
Okay.
I don't know what
3,
they'll be either.
4, this is very funny.
Yeah.
5, 6.
There we go.
All right, do I have to read them now?
No, I'll read them to you, and you tell me the answers. Here
I'm
we
in
go.
trouble.
Colleen Zenk.
Oh my.
If you were editor at People magazine, who would be your pick for sexiest man alive?
Oh, George
Clooney?
Clooney.
Yeah.
Hello.
At Washington?
George.
If you could have a personal trainer, chef, or driver, which would it be?
Driver. Because I cook.
Oh, there you go.
And I give myself a ballet workout, and I work out and take care of myself. So,
Driver would be great.
driver.
Vegas, love it or leave it?
Love it. Love it.
Favorite hotel?
I haven't stayed there enough to know, but I can't answer that.
You love the idea.
Yeah, I do.
Vegas. Okay.
I'd like to work there, frankly. I want to take my show there. I'm talking with people. So, yeah.
Beyonce, awesome or overrated?
Unbelievably awesome. Unbelievably awesome. Do you know that when she rehearses, she goes to Chicago and she works out? This is a shout out to my friend Claire Bataille, my oldest girlfriend in the world. She works and rehearses at the Hubbard Street Dance Company studio, which my darling friend Claire runs the whole school. So that's where Beyonce is.
That's your degree of separation.
Hello. Yep.
Favorite member of the royal family?
Harry.
Oh, you're just wild about
I'm
Harry.
just wild about Harry.
You are a cougar. All right. Have you ever had a wardrobe malfunction?
No.
That's because you're a professional.
Yeah. It's all about undergarments.
You keep your boobs where they're meant to be.
Yeah.
Colleen, thank you. Can we finish our Bellinis now?
Oh, let's do that.
All right. Here's to you, my darling.
Thank you.
Much more
Thanks so
continued
much.
success.
Love to see you.
And if you need an ordained minister, you know who to call.